Stampers here from stampingandperfection.com. Welcome to my craft room. I wanted to share with you a card I'm going to make for this week's Papercraft Crew sketch. I have this sketch. It's a pretty clean and simple sketch, and I kind of want to keep it that way, but I know I do have a tendency to take a clean and simple sketch and make it a lot more complex, but I have a few tools I want to play with today. So the first thing I've done is I've taken the Wispy Begonia stamp set from Altenew. It's got a coordinating die set, which I will use, and I stamped out two of the leaves and the begonia itself using the permanent black ink on a piece of scrap white cardstock. Now I've got the Brutus Monroe Simple Blends. This is the oval. They have an oval, a circle, and a square. And I really like this because this sketch calls for two oval shapes, and I would like to do some background technique with that and create one of the ovals. Then I've got this piece I created for a card I made last week using three Altenew inks, Ruby Red, Mango Smoothie, and Ocean Waves. And I used my Picket Fence blending brushes that I recently got to make that, and I want to use a piece of that on there. So I am taking the inside of the oval. Like, this is pretty nice. You could make your own mask slash stencil out of like a nice heavy piece of plastic or window sheet or something like this, or even a piece of cardstock, and do the same thing, but I like having these that are reusable. So I used some of that Altenew permanent ink, which is really temporary if you don't push too hard, and attached that to a piece of white cardstock cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now I'm taking one of the Picket Fence life-changing blending brushes and picking up some gray denim Altenew ink, and I'm actually putting on a little bit heavier than I intended. I picked up a lot of ink. Usually it goes on really light. This is a new ink pad, so it's nice and juicy. So it's a little bit darker than I had planned, but that's okay because I'm going to take a second gray and blend out the edges, and this is going to leave a nice bright white oval with a sort of a gray shadow around it, and I kind of like it. And I'm just taking the lighter gray, which is called Silver Lake. Altenew just came out with this set of 4 grays that blend together beautifully, and I'm just smoothing out some of my darker spots and kind of blending the edges so that it actually blends gently into the white. It looks a lot darker on camera than it does in person, I have to say. So I peeled that off with my palette knife, and I pressed down a little bit too much when I was blending it, so I accidentally pulled up a little bit of the cardstock. And one of the things I've learned through crafting is there are no mistakes in crafting. The more experience you get, the better you get at fixing your mistakes. So I took my adhesive remover and first removed some of the extra adhesive, and then where I accidentally pulled up the paper, I'm taking that Tombow sanded eraser. I really love this Tombow Mono sanded eraser, and I'm gently using that sanded edge to go over the parts of the paper, and I'm kind of just erasing it away. And you can hardly see that I tore it a little bit. Like, that's a great solution. So I've got these great, my favorite things, Wonky, stitched Wonky ovals that I'm going to use. And I'm taking one of the sentiments from the sets, You Are in My Thoughts, and I'm going to heat emboss it in black. So I'm just going to use my my stamp positioner, and whatever stamp positioner you have. A long time ago when they first came out with this and everybody was raving about it, I got this stamp positioner and loved it so much I bought the mini one when they came out with it, and I really like it. This is the only one I own. I don't have any other one. I'm very happy with this one. I have no need to buy another one. So I love this. Whatever stamp positioner you have, I'm sure they all work in the same way. You can restamp things a couple of times. You know, like I just really love having a stamp positioner. So whatever one you have, or whatever one you have on your wish list is great. It's a wonderful tool. So I've used my WOW embossing powder. That's my black embossing powder. And notice I didn't bother with the embossing buddy. Catherine Pooler met with the person that the owner of WOW, and they said you actually don't need that embossing buddy if you store the embossing powder in the original container. As soon as you do what I did and put it in another container, you introduce static. Apparently when they produce the embossing powder, they actually do something to the container so that it doesn't have any static with the embossing powder. So as long as you store it in that original container, it's pretty static free, according to what Catherine Pooler said in the video after her conversation with the WOW person. I really like storing mine in the container, and I really don't have that much trouble with static electricity. So I'm using my Altenew die cutting machine here. I love this little mini blossom die cutter. There's a thick plastic or acrylic pad. That's the one I cut on. The cutting side goes down on that thick one. The thin one goes on top. I use a little piece of washi tape to hold everything in place. I just love this. So now I've got my second oval, and I am just going to take a piece of this blended leftover from an earlier project and use that as the band of paper that's supposed to go between the two ovals according to the sketch. And I love that I'm introducing some color here now. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my Altenew artist markers, and this is a new set of artist markers. This is the most recent set. I just got this last week, so I couldn't wait to use it. I know this is going to be a green begonia, but these are some of my favorite Altenew colors, and I'm just going with it here. So I started with the B635, which is the emerald green, and I just made a line around the inside of the petal, and then I took the next color, B815, which is a lagoon, the to-die for color. And I just did some flicking out from that dark emerald line I made, and then I used the B714 and did slightly longer flicks, and then the lightest color, the 714, by the way, is Volcano Lake. Oh, so gorgeous. And then the B802 is the Mountain Mist. That's the lightest, and I'm just kind of flicking and filling in the rest. Now, I'm not trying to show you any Copic marker techniques because I'm still experimenting. And I used this technique on a few of the leaves, and you saw that with a few of the petals. And you saw with the second petal, I actually colored the whole thing in with the lightest color, and then started flicking my way into the darkest colors. So I'm just kind of experimenting with different techniques, and I have a couple of people whose classes I've been taking, and they both have very different techniques. So when I do my Copic coloring, I kind of experiment with the different techniques. And I probably do at least 3 different techniques on this flower all together. Like when you see the final picture, you can see that I tried a third technique, which I didn't film because I got interrupted by my cough during filming of this. So I'm just showing you this part so you can see my sort of technique here. I just try to keep the base of the petal dark and the other end lighter. Although in the third technique, I actually put some of the darker in a little triangle shape at the tip of each of the petals, and try to make it look a little more three-dimensional. But I'm just having fun, like experimenting with different ways to color with Copics, and I'm really, really enjoying it. And these are not Copics; these are actually the alcohol markers from Altenew, which they call their artist markers. And I love them because the price point is just so good. And I got my first set when they came out with their first set, so they've slowly been adding like sets of 12 to their collection, so I've slowly been adding to my collection as they do that. So I'm thankful that I got in on the ground floor with those, because I'm managing to not spend a ton of money on alcohol markers all at one time. So I just trimmed down that colorful strip. That was just a scrap piece that I have left over from another project. I used some of my Altenew permanent adhesive, it's like a tape runner, on the back, and I tried to put that under the embossed sentiment so you can't really see it. Now I'm just using a whole bunch of foam dots on the back of this begonia that I've colored, and you can see that the petals do look different on one side of the flower than the other. The left side is a very different technique than the right side. It doesn't matter. It turned out pretty because I used pretty colors. So I really liked the way it came out, but I decided I did need a leaf. So at least one leaf, or leaf. So I pulled out some other Altenew greens. These are from an older set that I have. This is G715. This is their Forest Glades. And I'm just using that because it's my darker one along the veins. Now I'm flicking out with G825, which is my olive color. And I'm just making some long flick colors here. And then I'm going to take another green, G804, and flick some more. And each time I do lighter, I use a longer stroke. And I tried G702, but it looked the same to me. And I decided I wanted a little more yellow. So I pulled out C001, which is buttercream. Who doesn't want to use buttercream? I'm kind of like flicking in, filling in the rest of the edges. And just like filling it in with yellow. I like the yellow because there's a little yellow on the end of that paper strip that I have. So now I'm going to pull out my mini blossom die cutter again. And again, I'm just going to tape that down. And I decided, you know what, I want to add a little, I want a little red in here. So I pulled out R603, which is called Puffy Heart, and added that in. And then I went back over it with that yellow C001 just to blend the colors together. And I really like the way that red tinge looks at the end. It makes it feel more tropical. And, you know, like I am really having fun with the Altenew Artist Markers. I do have some Copics, and I use those as well. Like I'm trying, when you take a alcohol marker class, you know, they use Copics. So I purchased a few Copics that I can use to take the class. So I'm just tucking that leaf in there. And now I want to add some sequins, and I'm pulling out some sequins. And these are probably, let's see, what are these? These are actually from Pretty Pink Posh. There's the Sparkling Clear Mix. So there's several different sizes, which I really like in the sequins. And I love these like shiny clear ones. I'm just putting them around. I like odd numbers. I like to make triangles. So I'm just dropping these down. And I'm going to pull out my We Are Memory Keepers Quick Stick and my Ranger Multimedia Matte, and I'm going to add it there. And that oval, that vellum oval is sticking up a little bit. So I put a little bit of that multimedia matte under it, and now right on top of where I put the glue under the vellum, I'm just putting a sequence. So I'm sort of tucking some of them under, putting one on top of the flower. You know, I'm just adding a few little touches there and moving them around a little bit. And that's going to complete my card. I will attach it to a card base, but that's going to complete my card with this week's Papercraft Crew sketch. And I invite you to join us at the Papercraft Crew and play along with our card sketches. We would love to have you play along. So that's the video. Thanks so much for watching. Give this video a like and share with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel for more tips, tricks, and tutorials. And stop by my blog at stampingimperfection.com and check out some more of my videos, which I hope to remember to link here as I upload the video. So thanks again for watching. Have a wonderful day.